most people don't just jump in head first, right? How do you then start to create that environment where you can dip your toe in the water, start to experience those things without just saying, hey, I'm going to risk it all and just go, full board? Or is that just a leap you have to take?
It happens naturally depending on your environment. Either
Mm,
it's going to seem like you're a crazy person if you're the only one doing it, or it's going to seem natural and normal if you're around people that are doing it. There, one of the great stories that I heard was when Mark Victor Hansen was talking to Tony Robbins years ago. This is before Chicken Soup had sold 1 billion copies or whatever it's at now. And Mark was like, he's a millionaire. They'd sold lots of copies. And he was talking to Tony Robbins and he said, I need to figure out what's like my problem. Like you've made hundreds of millions of dollars. And Tony goes, well, do you have a mastermind? Like who's around you? And he goes, yeah, man, I got mastermind. I got millionaires in there. And like I've sold millions of copies of my book. Tony goes, that's your problem. And he said, what do you mean? And Tony said, I have billionaires in my mastermind. And Mark goes, oh, because what's normal to a millionaire is totally not normal to a billionaire. And there's a reason that billionaires continue to do things that make more billions, that they impact more people. It's the reason that certain people in politics tend to rise up and they keep growing, because that's just normalized to them. They're around other people that are influencers, and there's a different energy around it. So the question is, who is influencing you? And if you want to do things where, even if you're scared, what happens is you end up by osmosis, which is where you absorb stuff. You by osmosis, you absorb people's confidence. You kind of borrow it, not even knowing it. And
mm,
it's like, oh, well, that's normal. And then we see, the thing is, we have the answers. We are our own guru. I think there's like a Netflix film with Tony Robbins in there, like, I am not your guru. We have the answers. Oftentimes we just don't know the questions, or we're too afraid to trust ourselves because we're like, oh, the boogeyman, that damn polar bear is going to jump out and eat our ass. So we get concerned about this when you got people around you and they're doing things. Like, I've had this happen when I lost all that money, the 20 million went away. I kind of went isolated into a cave. And at that point, it was just me and my thoughts. Very, very dangerous place to be in depression. And I didn't have other people that were doing things. So I thought the world was going to end. And I mean, this is 10, 12 years ago. And then we went into a bull market and I just watched, afraid. And it was because I didn't put myself around people that were doing things where I got to back to a normalized space of activity. And that is the easiest way to do it, because we all know how to go connect with people. So just choose wisely. Like, it's like
mm.
Indiana Jones, choose wisely. Don't be a dummy. Like, actually choose the right people, because the wrong people will take you down. And even if that's flat, where they're keeping you where you're at, that's still down. Universe doesn't do flat. It does growing or dying. So if you're flatlining, you're just like staying static, you're basically dying. You're tiptoeing safely to death's door. Stupid, stupid move. That's not why you're here. So what's your environment? It's having all the difference in the world on your life.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think finding the right people to surround yourself with is so important. I know a lot of people who I was friendly with who were living very comfortable lives. And I think my mindset is very different to them because of getting into the real estate space, into the investment space, being surrounded with John, Don, the people in the office, and also, the countless people I've met through doing guest podcasts, our podcasts, and we did a meetup for 3+ years locally, which obviously has been put on hold for now. You just meet so many people from different walks of life and have slightly different views that have made it work and overcome so many different obstacles. You're just like, okay, there's literally 1,000 examples of 1,000 different type of people who have done it. It just gives you that kind of confidence and that foundation to be like, okay, like, if them, why not me? And you just go, okay, now it's not a question of if, it's a question of how. And I think that that's a very different, powerful mindset that I've been able to, be exposed to earlier than I think a lot of people that I know of a similar age. So that's been super powerful for me. I know.
Well, and one of the things that the how is something that unfolds if you have a powerful enough why. And one of the most powerful whys is because if you don't, the alternative is regret. Regret is waking up on your last day and realizing you're about to meet the man or woman that you could have been.
Mhm.
It's that experience. Hopefully everybody listening here goes, okay, I don't want to do that. I did do that with my dad a few weeks before he died. I remember him looking at me and saying, there were so many things that I wanted to do. And when you experience somebody's regret, it it changes you. It
Mhm.
like rewires you. And it's to me, it's a sin to not tap into your potential. And you're one of the things that I learned from Ted Turner. He talked about his dad. His dad accomplished his goals and then died. And it was like, okay, well, what happened? What happened is he didn't have a goal that was big enough. And so Ted said, okay, what's my goal? My goal is going to be something I can't possibly achieve in my lifetime. And it gives me something that pulls me versus, okay, I'm done. Well, here's the deal. The universe just says, okay, if you're done, like if you're done contributing, you're just consuming and you're taking up space and energy and resources. So you're out. That's why most men die within 3 years in the US when they retire. Stupid thing. We don't retiring. There's a difference between being free and not having to go and work for money and retiring and checking out and saying it's pina coladas and golf and that's all my life is. I don't think the universe wants us to be pina colada and golf people. Like that's not the entire point of our existence and our species. So what are you here for? And this is the why. The how, there's a million hows. Like there's anybody that says, well, I got to figure out that right thing. Who cares? Go make pencils. There's a
Mhm.
billionaire I can show you that has made pencils. There are billionaires in real estate. They're like whatever level of wealth or whatever level of success or fulfillment you want, it's done in everything. It's not about that perfect how. People get stuck in that, trying to figure that out, and they spend years wasting years. Doesn't really matter. The question is, are you going to be world class in that thing that you choose? Doesn't matter what you choose. Choose trees. Choose. I don't care. It's really fascinating how people get stuck, and you know why? Because it's safe. I'm working on it. I'm thinking about it. You're not doing crap. You're literally just in your head, and that's not making any progress. You're just swimming around in a circle like a damn fish in a globe. Like that doesn't. Where are you going? Nowhere. But you're making progress.
Yep, that's what I said. Done is better than perfect, right? Like just do it. Because if you want to be perfect, you're always that's just an excuse for not doing what you want to do. And yes, I understand that if you're trying to put the perfect pitch deck together with no mistakes, I get all that. But in the end, just putting something out there and getting hit punched in the face when the guy says, "Oh, look, you spelled this wrong." Okay, learn from that, but don't sit there and be like, "Oh, I want the perfect logo." Those are just excuses because you don't want to implement anything. You don't want to do it. You don't want to get up and go do what you want to do. So I'm a big believer in that. I mean, by all means, you know, I'm a bull in a china closet sometimes. It's just, okay, maybe it wasn't the best way to do it, but you know what? I said it. If you don't like me, that's fine. I've said it on this podcast numerous times. I'm really not looking for friends. I have friends, right? I like people. I like to meet people. I like to network with people. But if someone doesn't like me because I did something or said something that wasn't right, well, you know what? I'll deal with I'll deal with it. It's not the end of the world. You know what? You got to deal with it too. And if that's going to offend you that much, I'm sorry, but you got to get up and do something. And like you said, if you want to put the perfect playbook together, go for it. But you're going to sit there spending numerous amount of hours basically just whittling away and wasting away. We had, and I apologize for getting the guess, but it was Ken Clothier who said,
Yeah.
multiply this, and how many hours, and then that's basically all the time you have left on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
Using the average age of 70, 73 years old or whatever it is for a male. Subtract what you are today from that, and that's all the time you have left, and you can't create more time. So, and as that clock ticks, you don't want to regret. You don't want to have a goal that's too, it's a goal you could accomplish, right? There are goals that you have to set to accomplish, but there's also goals that you want to reach for. And you don't want to waste your time because you can't create more of it. It doesn't exist, at least today, maybe in the future, whatever. But right now, you only have a certain amount of time. So you might as well use every minute you can doing what you set out to do, as opposed to trying to make an excuse for not doing it. And that could be in real estate. Like you said, it could be anything you want. And there's nothing that's holding anybody back. I truly believe that you can do anything. And maybe it's a flaw of mine. I think I can do anything better than the next person doing it if I wanted to do it. But anyone out there, male, female, anyone can do anything they want to do if they put the time and effort into doing it. You just got to do it.
Well, and to your point about that, there's an interesting saying we've probably all heard that it's lonely at the top. It's also there's like no competition at the top. Like when you're world class, what most people do is they're spending time going shallow. They're not really going deep. They're not spending 10,000 hours on anything, and so they're fighting with all the other people that are lazy and not willing to commit. And so that's why it's such a struggle. When you get to a point where you dominate a space, it's really fascinating. The other thing that happens is people nip at you, but you're so busy on your thing, and it's it's funny to me. I've written a lot of like a dozen books, and every time I've written a book, I end up reading the book later. I'm like, I swear, how did I not catch this? And so when you publish a book, one of the things that's annoying is you have thousands of copies go out and you read it and you go, oh man, who did the proofing on this? And you realize you did, and so did 5 other people. And so you're like, well, okay, that's part of it. But then people will tear you down, sometimes your own friends, and they'll say, gosh, this is all messed up, and here are the errors, and I read the book, and here's the 15 different things I saw. And it's like, you didn't actually read the book. You were like my second grade English teacher. Like, what in the world? And so we get worked up about what other people are thinking. Most people aren't thinking about you that much anyway. They're thinking about their own crazy, messed up lives. But we do this stuff, and we get stuck thinking about what other people think about instead of thinking about what's possible. And it's the only reason that we haven't done what's possible is because we haven't committed. I mean, you just commit. Like, I know it's very, very complicated, right? Just commit to something. Why don't we commit? Because of FOMO. We're afraid of missing out on the other opportunity that's coming around the corner. And so there's two opposing forces. One is the difference between success and super successful people. Is super successful people say no to almost everything, so they have a lot of space to be able to say yes. On the other side of that is you have to be willing to say yes to something and then go do it. It's not going to do it for you. And I mentioned The Secret earlier. A lot of people have gotten really screwed up because they're a bunch of snowflakes that if they just will their way into it, the bag of money will fall from the sky. It's not how it works. It's like that old story where there was a flood and people were sitting there and they were waiting for help. And so somebody came by in a car and they said no, and they came by in a canoe, and then they came by in a helicopter, and then they died. And when they got to heaven, God said, what are you doing? They said, well, we were waiting for you to save us. He's like, I sent 3 different people, but you have to get off your ass and go do something. And people think that somebody else is going to do it. Maybe it's God, maybe it's the government or whatever. That is not how it works. You have got to get off your ass. And when you do that, you own the power because you're taking responsibility. Responsibility is the great differentiator. Most people are victims. And you can see it in our society. We justify, we blame, we're a victim to things, we're breaking things, we're rioting and looting. How about take some responsibility? Then you actually are free because it's all under your roof, your head. You get to choose how you interpret, you get to choose what you're doing versus, I hope they save me. I hope they send me a government check. Man, get off your ass and go make it happen. Like, we are human beings. We're not reptiles, although we use our reptilian brain and we knee-jerk react around, and our reticular activator is constantly like, okay, what's going red alert? Well, everything is going red alert. What are we doing? Turn off the damn news, turn off the feed, stop comparing ourselves to other people, compare yourself to what you're capable of. I mean, That is the greatest thing you can possibly do. Forget about what your friends, your quote unquote friends on Facebook are saying. Let's actually think about this. I know thinking is a hard thing. It's like a 4-letter word. But if we think about it, what are we capable of? Who knows? Compare yourself to yesterday. Are you making progress? That 1% is like Joel, I forget that it's like the 1% edge. There's a book and it's literally just 1%, just improve 1%. That anybody can do that. You're not going to do it if you're throwing bricks through a window, trying to destroy things, but you are capable of doing it. Anybody is, whether you're a criminal or whether you're the Dalai Lama, everybody's capable of a 1% shift. And it's a choice. It comes down to a choice. We all have that power and the same amount of time, the 168, those hours every week. Can't save them. You get to use them.
No, I think a lot of what you said is super powerful. I've always found Matthew McConaughey did that speech about like, who's your idol? And it's his idol is him 10 years from today. And then 10 years later, they ask him, and no, I'm not there. It's, me in 10 years. And it's every second, every day, every minute, his future vision stays 10 years ahead. And I thought that was really powerful because it's the same thing you're saying. It's, you're chasing your potential, and your potential is a moving target. As you grow, your potential is going to grow, and you're always chasing that future ability of what you can do. And it ties back to what you said of, when we accomplish something, that's kind of it. And like, what do you do from there? So you just continue to have loftier and loftier goals. And I think, it doesn't have to be, building, the biggest business in the world. It could be, creating more relationships or connections, or, creating deeper relationships with, the people closest to you. I think sometimes people get it too construed of like goals and things you want to do have to be like, especially when we talk in the business and investing world of like, I've got to get more units. I've got to get more money. I've got to create a bigger business. Back to your point, of more is better. I don't think that necessarily has to be the same thing, or that has to be the goal you're looking to achieve.
You're right. more is more. More isn't better. The question is, what is the focus? What's the reason? Like when I shifted, when I went through my whole process of reinvention. So I wrote a book called Reinvented Life back in 2012 because I was going through one hell of a reinvention. You know, you go from 20 million to negative 5 million in 12 months. And when your entire self-worth is tied to your net worth, it's a very destructive experience. And so I went through that and I said, okay, well, all right, what just happened? And there's phases of grief. One of them is denial. And I was definitely in denial. Like, I lost all this money and I was like, hey, I'm still good. I got my black card until they turned it off. Couldn't buy toilet paper. That was a bummer. But, you know, it happens. On the other side of that, after a couple of years of therapy and coaching and really asking the question, what is true? What I realized is I'm a teacher that teaches from experience, not in an ivory tower. And there's something that's more important than just me being a hedonist. And one of my friends hates when I say this, but I was a total douche. And I was like, okay, don't be a douche. Be something you're proud of, that you can look in the mirror and go, yeah, you know what? You're on the right track. Proud of you. It's really interesting. You know, I think a lot of us would have a hard time looking in the mirror and saying, I'm really proud of you. There's no way I could have said that in the 2000s. I was in the mirror like hungover. And so totally the opposite. You know, nobody's proud when they're hungover. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. So there was a shift into being more thoughtful about why I'm here. And the shift was, okay, I'm here to impact other people. I'm here to help people be freer. So, because freedom to me is the ultimate. It's my most valuable virtue. It's what's most important to me, freedom. I see a lot of that being eroded, both with government and with the ideas that we have around other people saving us and the entitlement stuff. I said, okay, what can I do? And when I dug into this, I started thinking, like, watching my parents retire and watching them struggle. They played by the rules and they're broke. And I went, well, this is not a good plan, but that's where most people are. So I said, okay, my mission is not about Damion getting a series of Ferraris, because if you get a Ferrari, you typically get multiples, which I did, which is stupid, but it's kind of part of the Ferrari process. And I said, okay, what is it? It's about 1 million people that I'm going to help break their financial shackles, getting them out of bondage, teaching them how to fish, helping them leverage my confidence in their ability and their potential, breaking those shackles. And most people, if we can figure out how to get them to the point where they actually believe and trust in their own ability, that's where the shackles break. It's not about handing. Somebody recently said, what if we just give everybody $1 million? Like, would that be a good idea? And I'm like, well, it's an interesting thought. If $1,000 is good, is $1 million better? And then you realize, okay, that would destroy the dollar in about 5 minutes. So maybe that's not a good idea. It also wouldn't be helpful because you would have no confidence. $1 million, it would all be vaporized. So the whole mission that I have in my life is 1 million people that have those shackles broken permanently. And when the whole reason to do that is so that people can tap into whatever they're supposed to be doing. We are not supposed to be money bees. I mean, a bee is not a money bee. It's a honeybee. Like, it has this whole process. We tend to chase money. Money is a side effect. If you go serve people, Zig Ziglar said this, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have anything you want. It happens automatically if you serve enough people, and people go like, oh, well, I can't do that because I need to go make money. I'm like, holy crap, you're a desperate zombie. And that is not what we're supposed to be doing. And quite frankly, very few people are going to starve to death. Well, how do we know? Well, take your fear down the road and say, okay, what happens if I make a mistake? What happens if I invest $20,000 and it goes away? Okay, well, nothing. Like, I'm still working. Okay, what if I lose my job? Okay, well, what if I can't find any money and nobody wants to hire me and I'm stuck? Okay, I go sleep on a friend's couch. Well, then am I going to eat? Okay, here's how you eat. Go buy 50 pounds of beans and rice. And you got $100 later, you've got enough to feed you for 3 months. And then what do? Well, then you start over. Then it's, if you can take yourself all the way down through this process, you realize you're not dead. And a lot of people, they're unwilling to start because they think the boogeyman is going to kill them. When you have a big, powerful why that's serving a lot of people, all the wealth and stuff happens. It's automatically part of the process. And that's what I shifted to, was this process. And the deeper I go into that mission, the more I find ways to serve more people, the better it gets. Because more in that case is actually better. More money being the focus is just more money. And all it does is accelerate who you are. And so if you're a douche, you become a super douche when you have $1 million. Like, that's just how it is. So we have to decide what's going to drive us, what's going to pull us. Is there a North Star, or is there just fear? Sometimes fear is healthy, but we tend to stay in fear, which is screwing us all up in a lot of different ways anyway. So what's really important enough to focus on as a mission? I think that we all need that. And if we don't have it, it's time to pause and ask, what could it be?
Go ahead.
And you, like, I think that's like super powerful. You know, I'm trying to break the financial shackles or whatever for a million people. Can you scorecard that? Like, is it just, you know, how'd I help you? Oh, that's a win for me. Or is it more of an abstract of, yeah, I know that I've helped this person, whether they know it now or not, but can you scorecard that?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to scorecard it. One is to give people control and trust of their money. And so like when I work with people in different capacities, it's helping it's people that understand, oh, you know what? I understand what money is. Money is energy. Money is not little dead presidents on pieces of green paper. Like they understand that there's an energy there. So teaching people and then having them do something. So the scorecard is really seeing people shift where they do something. It's not just, oh, aha, I got it. And then I'm going to be like Mary Poppins with a bunch of unicorns. Like it's actually going and doing something. Like it's not just la la in the clouds. Watching people, sometimes it's literally somebody buying an ounce of silver that's real money. It's like seeing them do that or helping them through that process. And they go, oh my gosh, I'm holding real wealth. Like this actually took energy. This is not fake. And seeing that it's helping somebody learn how to go buy a piece of property. It's people helping people get out of the Wall Street roller coaster and being able to control that retirement money. And then they go, oh, I can control it. And people are scared to freaking death. They're like, oh my gosh, I've got $600,000 in my hand. What am I supposed to do? Nobody's babysitting me. I'm like in control. They freak out. And it's so every one of these people through their process, helping them see that it's possible and then giving them tools. I'm watching those shackles get broken because it's the confidence by doing. And so it's not just a bunch of conjecture or a rah-rah at a seminar. Everybody feels good and they go home and they go back into their thing. It's something different. We're breaking the bondage by breaking the habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's literally doing something. When people go, well, I'm going to study. I'm like, stop studying, go do something. I don't care what you do. Go do something. It really doesn't matter what you do because you're going to grow. And it's something y'all said earlier about, you know, what we're going to do. Here's a good way to look at this. When we ask, what should we be doing? Ask yourself, what does a tree do? I mean, if you just look at nature, nature has a lot of truth because it's pure truth. It's not human frontal lobe, like talking ourselves out of things. A tree grows. How far does it grow? As far as it can, as high as it can. What humans do is we're like, okay, we're good. We're going to stop. That is not natural. Like we should continue to grow and flourish and expand mentally, emotionally, spiritually in our relationships until we're dead. Like why are we stopping? Nothing in nature does that except for humans. And it's a really fascinating thing. Why do we think that we're smarter than the innate intelligence of a tree?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.